Welcome back to Naval Action and episode 81 of A Letter to the King. If you're new to the series, it's my attempt to keep us up to date with what's going on the global server, the server that never sleeps as far as PvP, RVR, Clan v Clan, or whatever else is happening on that particular server. To remind ourselves of the previous week had seen the Brits consolidate their holdings around the South American connection. The Spanish had ambled over here north of the Yucatan. The pirates and the Americans were closing borders in the Bahamas. A Brit clan had defected to the pirates and their holdings had all gone blank. The pirates had picked up Cartagena as a result of this. The Danes had ambled over and had also taken a bit of a biffing from the Brits after allegations / evidence / actually being involved in pirate screening actions around Naval, although it was later reported that was a small number of individual-minded chaps. The Dutch had spread a little bit and done a surprise pop-up on the south side of Cuba. The US had retaken Guacamole, but had promised the Brit support on the Florida Keys a bit later. And I think that was about it as to where we were at the start of the week. And what a week it has been. It's been a good week, actually. I've actually noticed numbers are up a little bit. There was a couple of changes the devs threw in. Not so long ago, they reduced the weight on trading goods. Shipbuilding goods, and that's helped traders move around a lot. This week they chucked in another sort of there's cables getting all over the place. They chucked in another sort of quality of life change, which in this particular case was they've sort of improved the profit margins a bit for trading in some of the exotic goods, so things like pirate goods, stolen goods, jewels, these sorts of things. There's a lot more profit to be made, and that's certainly been a boost to the economy, both the port income of the ports that hold these things, but also it means traders can now sort of compete with folks that like to run up hostility missions. Let's focus on what's happened as far as port capture. So we're down to 150 free ports left, so that's more than half of them have now been eaten up by the various nations and factions within. The Brits and the Americans are still bashing each other in open world, but there seems to be sort of, a really aggressive non-aggression pact when it comes to actually RVR right now. That's not completely solid, but it's a bit solid. We'll have to see how that one travels. The Brits are very much at war with the pirates. They seem to be grumpy with the Danes, but that doesn't seem to be continuing a great deal. I think the pirates and the Danes have a reasonable cordial arrangement between them. The three nations that this server's pivoting around right now are the US, who are certainly, they've got their numbers sorted out. They do seem to favour active bashing in the shallow waters at the moment, but they did fight a big first-rate battle this week. The Brits and the pirates seem to have reinvigorated themselves. They got stuck in a lot this week. It's probably a week that will go down as a great week for the black. Let's have a little look at what happened. So our Swedish friends, they grabbed up another port or two around here, but no real biffo involved in that. The Danes carried on pushing into Puerto Rico and Haiti, but they didn't get themselves involved in any significant RVR, none that I'm aware of anyway. The Americans started to push up the other side of the peninsula here, the Florida Peninsula, grabbing up a bunch of these white oak and live oak ports. They retook Guacamole, as I said earlier on, but then they met the black at Islamorada, and this was a big fight that there was a video up of this. It's somewhere on the forums. If you kick around and look in the global channel, you'll see it in there. And this was to tell you what, it's a bit of a theme with these battles. It started off okay. The numbers were fairly even. but once the pirates took a couple of ships off the board, it really snowballed in their favour, and they ended up with, you know, if you look at the final screen, a pretty convincing victory at Islamorada. The pirates turned up in great numbers. By all accounts, 25 ship fleet rocked up to make sure the hostility was done in quick time. The pirates also then attacked the US at a shallow water battle. I never remember the name of this port. I think it's Kemp's. And this was a little bit more uneven numbers wise, and the Americans, I think it was something like 19 pirates on 15 Americans, or of that order. It was like 4-to-3 ratio, and the pirates handled that one quite easily. The pirates, I don't think I've got a graphic for it, have pushed completely across the northwestern tip now of Haiti. And they're beginning to aggress the British ports. They've recently just aggressed one of the British ports. The Dutch, who seem to be doing oddball port captures, managed to rock and roll into the longest, daftest name port in the Bahamas. I can't pronounce it, Dunapocapiquipo or some bloody thing. So the Dutch have got a port up here. So there's a couple of cloggies kicking around. I don't know if it's one guy in his mortar brig or it's one guy and he's knocking over shallow water ports. I don't know what the deal is with the Dutch. I've not had any communication. So there's a couple of cloggies kicking around. That's good to see. And they also extended around their sort of base around here as well. But again, I've not seen them involved in any significant RVR, but it's good to see the orange on the map. The Spanish grabbed up another port, the capital port over here, north of the Yucatan. The Brits really went on a bit of an expansion. They picked up Key West for the parties. That was a bit of a sort of swap me with guacamole with the Americans. But they also started grabbing up a few ports west of New Orleans, and have sort of bookended the Spanish holdings here. So that's a little bit interesting. That sort of signifies, I think, that that particular clan's going to be running around this neck of the woods. They've also been consolidating a few loose ports that were left over when the VCO went and signed up with the Black. So last week I gave VCO a bit of stick for that. I still give them a bit of stick for it, but it's reasonably cordial, to be honest. As many of us have chatted around, it's a game you find fun where you can find it, and you sail under whatever flag your clan will find the most fun in. And I know VCO had a lot of fun at the tail end of this week, so mission accomplished as far as getting a bit of fun out of the game, and you can't really complain about that. The big action of the day, of the week, came with a British incursion on Islamorada. Now this was timed to allow the Euros to do an early morning start, the Americans to do, well, if you're on the East Coast, it was about 11:30 p.m. It was on a Saturday, though, so that's a good time to be, you know, gaming late. That's when us gamers should be gaming late. If you're not gaming late on a Saturday night, you're doing it wrong, or you've got some sort of social life, and you should refuse the true tag of being a daft-ass gamer. So the Brits ran up hostility at Cartagena. There was lots of ship movements during the day. I was part of a little fleet that trailed a couple of pirate first rates and their escorts down here. A few biffos ensued, and then we think the pirates teleported. We teleported after them, but sadly met a large waiting committee who emancipated us from a couple of our ships. So there was a nice little, some scraps beforehand, on and off. I think one of the pirates got sunk up here, a couple of the Brits got sunk down here. But it was a nice little entree to what was going to be a big biffo at Cartagena. And Cartagena is a fantastic port. It has two entrances, and really they work for a good 70% of wind conditions if you're attacking. But it's also a great port to defend with fantastic cannon coverage and the likes. Now, unfortunately, the map that the devs give us of all of the ports for Cartagena was taken at 3 o'clock in the morning. using the dark filter. So I've contacted my friends at Pixar, and they've helped me highlight here where the land masses are. So if you can just, I know it's pretty, it looks like a Jason Pollock impression by a Asperger's child. Now, if you see here, this is the landmass I've tried to outline using my Pixar skills in yellow. You'll see the 3 circles are here. This mass of red shows you just how much fort protection there is. Now, there's 2 ways into Cartagena. One is to come through the main entrance, which actually requires you to sail through a very screenable entrance here, and you'd come in this way. And then the other, although it shallows if you're in the open world, when it becomes a port battle, you can sail anything you want. And there's this beautiful channel here, this choke point, this Thermopylae-like hold them and give them nothing and take from them everything sort of space. Now the wind was blowing in, I can't remember what direction that is, but I'm going to pretend it was from the northwest to the southeast. It's something like that. It was blowing in this direction from the top right of the diagram down to the bottom left. So the Brits decided to enter here. And then this fantastic thing happened. So with no sort of obvious reason for this, and I see this with the Americans too, the Brits love to sail in lines, the pirates love to sail in sort of rowdy, drunken rabbles for brawling. And it's oddball this, because I've seen this on both servers, I've seen this on the other server too. The pirates, they just love to brawl. So the Brits had this fantastic plan. We have a highly skilled captain. He'll be so happy with that. We have this highly skilled captain in a mortar brig down here. He's going to snot this first fort on the land, then he's going to snot the second fort. We're going to wait. The pirates are clearly going to sparta up and stop us coming through. And then our mortar brig would spend 5 minutes knocking sails down, and we're all going to piss ourselves laughing. And there's one thing about the pirates, they just really never follow the bloody script, and rather than sitting there quite sensibly blockading the entrance, they decided to sail upwind at about 1.3 knots to engage the Brits in this choke point, Thermopylae, this narrow channel. The Brits, in 3 beautiful lines, they weren't like this, they were actually sort of there was 1 down this side and 2 across the top, had this fantastic plan of basically sailing through them. If they did come into the choke point, sail through them, bash a couple of ships on the way. The pirates had only left 1 or 2 ships guarding these circles. We could take these circles, and then we could Thermopylae up. What could go wrong? You know, the old saying, if you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail. And then the same general said, no plan survives contact with the enemy, and that was certainly true of the Brits. So the Brits, they sat here for a while, mooning the pirates, very Braveheart style, blew this particular tower to poop in no time at all, and then started lobbing mortars onto the very, very slow sailing pirates. Once the pirates had committed themselves into the breach here, the Brits' plan was to sail past them, knock out a couple of ships with super duper focus fire, and then burst through, take these 2 circles, hold this line, and in 41 minutes we would win the port battle. Unfortunately, one of the British lines sort of got wedged against the land here, which meant the front 2 lines, who now had the pirates south of them, had to turn. But because they'd sailed this way, they couldn't turn left into the pirates, because they would just expose their bad side again that had taken a snotting from the rabble as they come past. So instead they turned right and got themselves into a real tiz as they did so. It slowed down their ability to pick the fight, and all of a sudden the whole thing swung in favour of the pirates. The pirates could pick their focus fire. And to be honest, at that moment, as the Brits turned back on the pirates, now this is my opinion, there was 25 people on the Brit side, 25 people on the pirate side, a whole bunch of people watching the stream. There's probably 90 opinions as to why different sides won and lost and where it was won and lost. But my opinion was, as we turned right here, we got ourselves all tangled up in a bit of a tiz. and we lost momentum. That, combined with the same thing that's happened both with the Brits against the pirates and the US against the pirates, and that's very, very simple. The pirates, I mean, they're all good captains. Well, they're not all good captains. There's a lot of them who are good captains, and the Brits have got lots of good captains too. But where they excel as a sort of hive mind is they excel at retiring and protecting their damaged ships and focus firing and sort of HMS confirmed killing, bayoneting the wounded, as it were. And after the Brits had passed through the pirates, there was 4 pirate ships that were in the deepest of shit. 2 of them down to a single bubble of central structure, and 2 of them who'd lost their entire sides. Although I watched the replay of it, and I think they lost their sides because of some bug. They collided, and one of them, the side of the ship just sort of vaporised. Now, I don't know if that was our mortar brig or if there was a bug in the game, but we had a bit of a collision too, and there was enormous damage from what felt like fairly insignificant collisions. I don't know if there's some chemical reaction when white oak touches live oak or something along those lines. But there was a couple of ships on the pirate side, definitely, that just seemed to lose like enormous amounts of hull. Now, it could have been a combination of shot and collision. It could have been shot, collision and mortar brig, or it could be a bug. I have to say, I couldn't work it out when I was in game, and you know what it's like when you're in a port battle. It's a complete pell-mell. Now, to be honest, fighting in this mega confined space, and to give you some idea, you can probably fit 7 first rates abreast at the width here without playing with the shallows or banging each other. The pirates came in a brawl, so they were probably 4 or 5 ships. The Brits were sailing past in a line of 1 or 2 ships abreast. So almost all the shots that are coming in here are coming in at under 50 meters. And so the penetration, the damage is absolutely colossal. I was in the van, so I was at the front, and me and the 3 guys in the front, we took an absolute pounding. So although turning left was preferable for wind advantage, turning right was preferable for offering your other side while you were paired up. It was a good idea that was also a bad idea. The Brits turned back into the fight. It all got a bit scruffy here, and really I don't think the Brits did as good a job as focusing down or bayoneting the wounded as the pirates did. And so after the first half hour, what should have probably been a 4-2 advantage to the Brits was actually about a 5-2 advantage to the pirates. If the Brits had managed to get their main force through the gap and left the pirates stuck here, the Brits could have turned to hold this area and captured these circles. And even if this, because the fights do still go on for quite a long time, even if this pell-mell had gone on here for a long time, with the forts being killed, that's a lot of points, and with holding 2 circles, it's like a 25-minute battle if you kill 2 major forts and hold 2 circles. So I feel as though that was the part where, for me, and like I say, other people have other opinions. This is just my read on it, and you know, we all blind men fumbling an elephant. We all grab a different bit of the elephant and come up with our own conclusions as to what it is. Now, once the fight kicked off here, and then it slowly moved back down this way. It then played around this area for a long time, and the pirates began to get the advantage. You get this tremendous snowballing effect taking place. If you've got more guns on the table than your opponent, and those guns are being used by smart captains, the focus firing, the bullying and the picking on the wounded begins to snowball, and the pirates retreated their weaker ships into the Gulf here. The Brits that chased them, including me, got a little bit blind by chasing them. So although we chased them down and executed a few of them, what we'd done is we'd basically trapped ourselves. And you couldn't get out. The wind had turned. You couldn't get out of this area. And then it all went absolutely tits up for the British and went wonderful for the pirate dirty bastards. So in the end, the port battle was pretty lopsided as far as... Oh, where's it gone? Where's my little picture of the... Thingo gone. Oh, that's no good. Hang on a minute. Let's dig that up. I'm sure I've got it somewhere. Here we go. Let's get in there. So what you'll see here is the pirates ended up sinking all bar about 6 of the British ships. And although a few of the pirates escaped to save their backsides before the battle was over, they only lost 5 ships or something of that order. The Brits, there was only 6 of them that survived, and then the afters kicked in, and with the afters kicking in, you then saw, I think, 4 of the remaining 6 British ships getting knocked over. I think the mortar brig might have made it out, although I have to say I was in a different channel to his battle, but only 1 British first rate got home, 23 didn't, and the pirates only lost, like I say, I think 6 first rates in the whole battle. So a great day to be a dirty pirate scumbag, and actually a great day to be a Brit as well, because we had all corners of the globe. We had Aussies, we had Brits, we had Europeans, we had Americans on both sides. Both sides had a full 25-man fleet, proper ships as well, mostly kitted out and boxed up, and there was even some overspill. There was half a dozen other players kicking around outside the port, getting involved in different fracas, and this for me is global at its best. The port was done at a time where all 4 corners of the globe could pretty much play. I think the only people who really had the rough end of the stick were people on the west coast of the US and perhaps the west side of Europe, where it would have been a sort of 5:30 get up in the morning, but the battle was at 6 or 7 o'clock. So we had a few gruff voices in team speakers. You know, the pre-coffee chaps were logging on to just make sure they weren't missing the depart time. So absolutely great fun. Well done, pirates. A great win. We'll be back. The good news is with the British clans, they're good at re-gearing. Most of us have got more than 1 first rate, so you can afford to throw your pixels away over a bit of fun, and I think everyone enjoyed themselves. And generally, apart from the odd knob, it was a relatively cordial and fun event for all concerned. So that was good. It was good. Well done, everybody. I'm disappointed I didn't have that picture. I could have swore I had it. Where's our open world hotspots? Well, it's pretty much the same as it was. There's some pirate activity around Banaka. It's absolutely crazy bonkers and open seas, and this is open seas. And it used to be Jamaica, but since the reinforcements came in, it's basically Florida is where you go for some open world love, although I've noticed quite a bit around Mortimer Town as well once you get away from the reinforcement zone. That also seems to be a bit of a hotspot. Where can we expect some biffo port battle-wise this week? The Bahamas is hotting up. It's very exciting. The pirates have moved into Florida, so that's clearly an FOB for their lads. I think the Bahamas is the main area. I think we'll see a little bit of stuff off Haiti. I know the pirates have razzed up Jeremy at knob o'clock for us Aussies. And I'm hoping that the Danes return and are prepared to put up a bit of a scrap on the south side. But really the 3 protagonists are the Brits, the Yanks and the Rats. And like I say, I think numbers were up a little bit this week, which was good to see. I think a bit of interest came in. I don't know if holidays are over and people are back to gaming, or it's getting a bit cold in the northern hemisphere and folks are deciding it's time to stay in at home and shoot each other. So that's good to see. Naval Action Legends was on alpha for its 3rd week. They'd made a number of improvements. They've brought rig repairs in because mowing people's sails down proved to be a little bit OP. Most people are into the brigs and the navy brigs and the snows, the Serbs and the Mercuries now. And it's good fun. I didn't manage to get that many games with player v player for some reason. I did try. I sort of logged on much earlier than normal, hoping to pick up the arse end of the US time zone. I got a few player versus player, and it is such a good fun game when it's player versus player. You do get yourself into this do I wear carronades? Because if it's player via AI, you're much better knobbing around with a load of carronades sailing up next to the Muppet-based AI and just ripping half their side off. However, if you're up against players, any half intelligent player will check you out with their binoculars, with their telescope, spot the fact you got carronades on and just snipe you from 300 meters. And if you're ever bored, bung carronades on a ship, sail it out, and do a broadside and have a look at the dispersion of carronades. It is like an epileptic octopus throwing bloody lead balls all over the place. Some go up, some go down, some seem to just fall out the end of the cannon, some fire off at 45 degrees. Probably the biggest criticism with Naval Action Legends at the moment is the AI is a bit derper, and if you do get sunk, because they do use gimbaled laser-guided cannons to shoot you, and then they seem to use blind force to try and shoot each other. And so if you do get sunk, waiting for the AI to kill each other is boring. But of course, the whole idea of an arena game is that there's no AI in there unless it's a co-op against AI, armoured warfare style. So I'm not that fussed about the AI because, you know, I'm hoping that once they get it into a more open test environment, you'll be basically always lobbying up against players. And the player versus player is just great fun. I think the ships perhaps start off a little bit too far apart. It takes a little bit too long to close, but of course the weather is the wind is such an important part of sailing. You do need the time to jockey for position. So there is a bit of balance to be had there. One thing that did really come to the fore is all the maps have a circle on, or 3 circles on, that if you capture them, you basically tick points, World of Warship style. There's a lot of folks don't like that. They think it's a rubbish mechanic. It's certainly a mechanic that can be played with. I'd prefer to see ships that are hit have their timer interrupted or rolled back a portion, a bit like World of Tanks. But the main reason the circles are good, I was playing one game at the weekend and the player we were up against, he just decided to run away at the end of the battle. Now, he was in a faster ship and basically he could just run away and force a draw and waste 45 minutes of my life, which is not what you want in an arena dropping game. But because the circle was there, you just sail into the circle and then within 3 minutes the game's yours, because if they don't contest the circle, it ticks up super quick. It's about 2 minutes to capture the circle, and then the circle sort of ticks at about 10 points a second, so you hit your 1,000 points in about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Yeah, so that's Naval Action Legends. Week 4 next week. Let's see what they do. It certainly looks pretty. It certainly plays well. And if you're looking for that 45 minutes, hour drop-in, it's good fun. Where are we on the tally of Splinter Sail and Blood? Well, the Brits, between the 4 or 5 active clans, they went a bit bonkers and a bit of a surge. The Pirates less so, but they were involved in a lot more fun PvP. The Americans made a small net profit, as did the Danes, the Spanish, the Swedes, and the Dutch. Whoever these mysterious Dutch are, drop us a line. Mysterious Dutch people, tell me what's going on. They captured a whole bunch of ports. I think because of the surge by the Brits, they'll get the victory mark this week. And clan-wise, Black have, like I say, I felt their numbers were up significantly this week. So they've pulled to the top of the ranking. So Armed are the British clan with the most ports. Black are next. Then CCP, which is I think they're a Chinese-based Danish clan, they're next. Another Brit clan, GA, quite often I think that's an American time zone based British clan, American and Euro, I think it's mostly American. Then next, equal with the Danes, and the American clan Mars have pushed up to 11 ports, so well done everybody involved in that. So it was good to see. Like I say, we had great fun this week. We had some great open world PvP off the coast of Florida. The Americans and the Pirates had some great port battles, not so great I suppose if you lose, but still good fun. The battle for Cartagena, highlight of the week for me. Obviously if you're an American it probably isn't, but the battle for Cartagena was by far the highlight of the week for me. Great fun sailing again in a 25v25 first rate battle. Yeah, we got our asses kicked. But so what? It's good fun. They're only pixels. We'll put them back on the board pretty quick, and we'll be up for some more spanking. So that's it for this week's naval action. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, chuck some comments in the bottom, especially if there's any cloggies that can explain the mysterious surge in cloggy behaviour. And I'll see you on the ocean, and I'll catch you.